Okay. We were hiking on the Appalachian Trail in Tennessee. My husband and my daughter and my son were in front of us, or in front of me, because I was lagging behind that day, and then just looking around at nature, and then I see this big, huge thing, maybe 20, 30 yards. I mean, wasn't that far from me at all. It's standing beside of a tree, because I kept going, is that the part of a tree? And then when it moved, I'm going, no, that is not part of a tree. It looks too big to be a person and too hairy, whatever. And then next thing I know, I'm hauling ass in front of everybody. It scared me to death. You could hardly distinguish a face out of it, but it was just real big. It looked hairy to me, and I swear it had to have been, God, I would say anywhere from 9 to 10 foot. That thing was huge. Yeah, they all laughed at me when I told them what I thought it was.
Beer. I've been getting pitchy like this.
Swan Lake was a really great hole for flounder. And I mean, just many of them.
It was around 11 p.m. I was with my son.
About 75 yards from the front of the boat, I caught movement from the trees.
I was completely in tune with my senses at this point. that appeared.
Now, at midnight, Bauman was awakened to a noise as his nostrils were hit with the stank of some wild beast, and he caught the loom of a great body at the mouth of the lean-to. He lifted his rifle and fired at the shadow, but must have missed, hearing it crash through the underwood, rush into the impenetrable blackness of the forest. His assailant lurking in the woods, waiting for an opportunity to catch one of the adventurers unprepared, came up from behind with long, noiseless steps, seemingly still on two legs.
I know we hiked probably about 6 miles, and I mean it doesn't seem like a lot, but when you're going through some thick bush, and then you're not in shape. It was horrible. So my cousin, he's an ex-military, and he's a photographer also, and we get to walking, and he sees what he sees is a silhouette. The head, shoulders, behind this bush, and it ducks straight down. The first time I'm out with anybody, I thought it was a joke. But in my mind, I'm thinking, why would these guys try to scare me when I'm heavily armed?
And I was just seeing all kinds of weird things, you know, and I was seeing bones, like pig bones that were all broken, like with the marrow sucked out of them, and then stacked up like almost artistically, you know, all these bones were just in a big stack. And then I went a little further and I saw like a structure or something in the woods, you know, as I was driving down this Forest Service road, and I saw stop, and I go in there and I got this real creepy feeling, like I'm being watched, I'm trespassing, I'm in somebody else's house, and I found this, I call it a wigwam now, but it's like a large wooden structure. It was about 8 feet tall and about 8 feet across, and it was like dome shaped. and all these branches were bent over and they were woven. And when I saw those weavings, I'm like, okay, something with a thumb had to make this.
Then I start seeing this huge hand starts coming out from the side of the bush. And it looked like a baseball glove, but it was all black. The fingers were fat. Thumb was down. And there's this tree probably about, I don't know, about 10, 12 inches wide. And this hand grabs that tree like this. And it makes the tree look like nothing. And I'm seeing the hair coming off of it. It's long, about 4-inch, 3-inch long black hair. And the hair's real shiny, like real clean, because I remember that stood out. I could see the reflection of the sun coming off of it and the wind blowing. But it looked like it had just been groomed or something. Like it was super clean, you know? And so it starts doing this, and it grabs that branch. And I'm like looking at the hand like, oh my God. And in the meantime, my cousin's running towards it, and it starts getting up to the shoulder. And right when I get up to the shoulder, it spins around. It stands kind of straight up, but not all the way up, but hunched over, but it turns back towards me. And then it goes down to all fours and disappears. All I see is the branches go like this. And there was not one sound.
Now, I do remember I saw one in Mississippi. He was on the backside of a little bitty old cemetery. It had a fence around it. And behind the fence of the cemetery, in the brush, there's a head about this big. But it looked like he looked Spanish. He looked like a Mexican man, but he had hair right here. He had hair all right here. And the reason I say a Mexican man is because his mustache was just like that.
We coming in heavily armed into the woods. I don't got nothing to worry about. But when I saw that thing get up and take off, I don't know where the hell that guy went. Because the only person standing there in my spot was this little girl that wanted to go home. I was scared, man. I was freaked out. And a lot of people say, well, why didn't you shoot it? Why didn't you do this? The last thing, I even forgot who I was, what I was doing. I forgot that I was armed. And plus, I think that if I did grow some balls and shoot this thing, I don't think I would have done anything to it.
Even though it was dark, it started taking pictures every 2 seconds. And at 7:02,
At 7:02, it captured
she walked out.
what we think is a young female.
And the reason we say a female, because breasts don't lie, so it
But
was
she was
definitely a female.
she was unique in that she was orange. We call her Ginger, but she was like an autumn leaf orange kind of thing. And then and she was very lithe. She was had like a dancer or something.
Roughly, we estimated her at about 6 foot tall, and where she came out the day before, we had found a humongous teepee. It was a few trees just stacked together in a teepee, and then about 30 foot to the deeper in the woods on the ground was a perfect humongous X. And she came out at that location the next morning, and she looks down the dirt road where we're camping, and in that she's in one 2-second frame.
I've learned two main things though since I've been doing this. One is they're real, and two, they're in large numbers.
We believe there's a lot more of them than people suspect there is.
It was like all I talked about for a long time, and I couldn't even go to a restaurant. They'd be like, "Hey, sir, can I take your order? What would you like to drink?" I saw a Bigfoot. They're like, "Okay, would you like ice with your what do you want?" And I was like, really? I saw one. You know, I was just trying to tell everybody. And then I learned sort of quick that you can't really talk about stuff like that.
Like it must have been bad. He left everything. but we killed a monster elk that year. And so we, of course, caped the head, and the horns were so big, you're thinking, all right, it's national forest. Yeah. Somebody's going to see this, they're going to take our rack. So we're going to take the rack out first. Yeah. So, I mean, he tags his elk, whatever, and capes it out, takes the head, and takes off with it. And it took us, I know this, I put it on my back at 11:30, and I took it off my back at like 5:30. That's how long it took to get out of there. I mean straight up, like 7 hours of just straight hiking.
Record book movie.
So we come back to get the elk as far as the meat. And
In the morning?
Huh?
In the morning?
And it was a morning, it was early, yeah. So
Really cold. We got some of the meat out, the horns out.
well, that was the thing, because it stays,
First haul.
because it does get so cold up there. Because it does get so cold, you're not really worried about the meat that much. Predators, but not so much the meat. So anyway, so we go back down there, and we go to get the meat, and the elk is about, not far, maybe 5 yards from where it was originally laying. Mm-hmm. But the crazy part is the hind quarter, which, let's call it a small elk. Let's say it's 500 pounds. Mm-hmm. But still, you got to understand the size of a hind quarter of even a cow elk. This is a big bull. This was a 1,000-pound animal. The hind quarter was completely gone. But the crazy part is the hind quarter had been, something had grabbed it and twisted it. And I'm not saying it's not a bear. I'm just saying, think about what I'm telling you. The hind quarter of a 1,000-pound animal had been grabbed and twisted so many times. It just twist, that when we got there, all you could see was the ball socket of the hip, and the hide was still twisted in a big knot. You know what I mean? Where something had just twisted a 200-pound hind quarter, just twisted, just snapped, whatever, and took off with it. As a hunter who has hunted so much that and he'll tell you, it's cost me marriages. Okay, I'm not talking about I hunt occasionally. Okay, like I said, when you tell your wife, hey, me and Todd are going hunting in September, we're going hunting elk, and you show back up in November with a white-tailed deer in Wisconsin.
I started before that. I went to Africa that
She
year.
she don't care how big she don't care how big the points are. You know what I'm saying? Like I mean, that's how bad it was. Like I said, he could call me, man, there's the largest butterfly invasion you've ever seen. And I'd be like, get a net, let's go. And my daddy, passed away when I was 10. So all of my hunting, everything I've done, it wasn't because somebody helped me. It was because of boots on the ground. Everything I did was because of attrition. Every deer I killed, it was because I was out there in the woods, I was doing it. So in all those years, I have to ask myself, have you ever smelt anything like that, ever? Is when me and him were coming out of the canyon, you know, and we're walking out, and, you know, that's when, and the only way I can explain it, I mean, let's just say you're walking across an open field, because basically that's what that meadow is. It's just an open meadow. You know, and you get hit with, the best way I can explain it is, you know, 500 gallons of raw human feces and bad body odor. So that's kind of what started. So when Todd finds that track and you look at it, well, then that changes everything. Meaning that either somebody put it there, or it is what it is. I mean, it's, you know, I mean, it's one of the two things. But as a hunter, I have to look at where my big brother's at. I have to look at where he's at, where that track is, and go, what? How would a guy trying to fake a print get here? You know what I mean? How would he get right here, and why?
Before I got to the track that morning, I was getting rocks skipping across the trail at me. And I'm thinking, where are these rocks falling from? You know, you got mounds, but you got them flat places. 2 different rocks come skipping across the trail in front of me before I found that track.
Well, he's been there 30 years. I've been there for about 10 going with him. But when something like that happens, you just got to stop, you know. And I almost wish he wouldn't have found the track, to be honest with you. Because before the track, I could chalk it up to anything. But I mean, it's almost like the only way I can explain it is I would have to take you down there and put you where that track is, and then let you turn around and look at literally the vast expanse of where we're at, so you can put it into perspective. Sir Snooze-a-lot over here, he can lay on that fire right there if he's tired and go to bed in 30 seconds. Okay? And when he does, he snores loud. And I think that's half the reason bears haven't came into our camp, because it's that bad. But anyway, so he's sleeping, and I'm trying to get comfortable the best I can. And it almost makes me mad that he is sleeping so hard and I'm not. You know what I mean? I'm like, I'm so pissed. And then all of a sudden, to my right, just real subtle, I hear just a real soft, and then over here by the cliff, the same cadence but a deeper tone. And I kind of just blew it off. Well, Teddy, I'm in the middle. Todd's over here. He's out like a light. Teddy's to my left. I'm stuck in the middle, and they're both shorter than me. And the way our tent was laying, it was on a little slight decline, you know, so you're kind of sliding down a little bit. And I'm trying to get comfortable, and I can't do it. I mean, I'm trying, I can't get comfortable. And you hear these real soft, almost rodent sound, little, I don't want to say pitter-patter, but just, you know, real soft kind of sound. Nothing sounding big, whatever. But it's still constant around the tent. You hear movement, you know what I mean? So finally I was like, man, I can't take it anymore. I gotta stretch my legs. But I knew if I did, when I extended my leg, I knew I was gonna push outside the tent. You know what I'm saying? My foot was here and the tent was here. So if I was gonna extend it out, you know, my foot was gonna, you know, push out. And I was like, man, you know, I'm gonna press my foot out, and there's a bear out there, he's gonna bite my heel or whatever, you know. But it was just kind of an afterthought, you know, like, yeah, whatever. But I pressed my foot outside that tent, and I swear to you, this is the only way. This is why we call whatever it is curly. So I stretched my leg out, and my foot went outside that tent, and I mean this hard. I mean, what? I mean, it hit my foot. I pulled my foot in, and it went. There's no way I can explain it. Is the reason we call him Curly. Is it sounded like Curly from the Three Stooges. When it hit my foot that hard, what? It went. Crash, crash, splash. It went across the creek. It just whatever. And I pulled my foot in. Well, Teddy, who was half awake, it woke him up. He's like, "What is that?" And I had my foot in. I got my hand on the gun. And I said, I don't know. I said, I guess Curly from the Three Stooges, because it sounded just, I mean, it literally went, whoop, 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 splash, crash, boom. it went to the woods. Now, like I said, maybe it's a Colorado raccoon. I don't know, but I ain't never heard nothing like that.
Hey! Wake up!
Yeah, really wish I could refund you your money. But it all went back into the convention. It's a nice day. Listen, kid. You don't come all the way out here for nothing. What'd you see? What's your story?